I disagree with a little bit of your characterization. And let me just be direct. I became named CEO a week ago. And the first day we announced to Wall Street we were lowering our take rate. If we weren't serious about it, we wouldn't have referenced it to Wall Street. I said we're going to invest in our customer experience. We're going to make it safer and easier to use eBay. And that to do that, we need to make bold changes. 5 days later, today, we announced some of the boldest changes we've made in the last 10 years to our eBay ecosystem. We announced changes to the feedback system that are long overdue, that everyone knows are long overdue. We announced changes that we introduced seller discounts for the first time in our history, and we changed our pricing in a way, I think, the first time in eBay's history, that actually lowers net pricing. And perhaps you don't believe it, but we've done the analysis, and I messaged it to Wall Street. So we have a very clear priority and focus in this coming year to improve the buyer's experience on eBay, because we think that's good for our sellers and that's good for eBay. And so we put the words out there. We're backing up the words with action. And yes, is there going to be some noise along the way? There is. Are we going to have to engage with our sellers about different dimensions of that? We are, absolutely. The good news is all of a sudden there's a lot of attention on shipping and how we're going to end up having our buyers feel good about the shipping on eBay. Right now there's breakouts. There's ideas coming forward. Lori and Stephanie and the eBay North America team will be taking that and will be evolving how we implement these policies. So,
well, one of the things about feedback is that I heard Lori say during the Q&A that you're going to be investing more in customer service to, and I imagine what you were really getting at, let me ask you, was that in terms of, because one of the questions I really wanted to ask you is what do you do as a seller when a buyer leaves you a negative, if you're taking away the ability to let sellers leave buyers negative ratings, what's to prevent a buyer from extorting refunds and discounts from sellers? So I'm a buyer, I got my item, it's perfect, but I contact the seller and say, well, there was a stain on this shirt, give me $10 or give me $20 back. Now the seller doesn't have any leverage. So is the customer service geared to deal with complaints against buyers? I hear a lot about the burden on the seller, but what's the burden on eBay to kind of clean up the buyers and prevent things like this? And can you get specific about what the customer service changes are?
So I would say two things on it. First of all, let's make sure that we understand the major change that we're making is that we're going to remove the feedback from buyers who have unpaid items or who have been suspended. And they are being suspended, obviously, because they are being reported by sellers for bad behavior on the marketplace. Plain and simple. And that is a process where we have invested. We'll continue to invest to make sure that we really understand the behavior of those buyers and that we will not only remove the feedback percentage, but we'll remove all the comments as well.
First time in eBay's history, actual removal of negative feedback.
Yeah, I definitely, there were definitely some good things about feedback coming out today. But what one seller I spoke to, he sold someone a leather jacket, and the person read the description, could see how many inches long it was, yet they left the seller a negative because it was shorter than they really liked when they put it on. I mean, they could have measured, they could have decided before they bought it. And this seller said, return it to me. I will refund you. I'll make you whole. Yet that negative stayed. So when you're saying, look, we'll get rid of bad buyers, how? When it was clearly documentable, but yet this seller told me, they couldn't get eBay to remove that negative.
So again, I would come back to the fact that with this new policy, we're going to put new processes in place. And can we comment on every edge case? Absolutely not. What we need to do is make sure that if we've got accurate descriptions with sellers, that sellers are being very clear about what's being offered to the buyer, that we make sure that the buyer and the seller both have a vehicle to be able to express their satisfaction with the transaction and to do that in an accurate way. And that's what our role is.
I want to shift gears a little. When you look at the fees, when you take into account the higher final value fees...
Excuse me.
Yep.
This is Henry Gomez. You've got about 2 minutes?
two minutes left.
Okay, let me ask this question then.
Yep.
Including the higher value fees and the PayPal fees, it seems like you're moving closer to Amazon's fee structure, but without the benefits of the lower customer interaction that you'd get on Amazon and so forth. How is that an incentive for sellers to stay on eBay?
The incentive for sellers to stay on eBay is that they're continuing to sell great volumes on eBay. So again, we had the largest number of traffic in the fourth quarter. We sold $16 billion of GMV in the fourth quarter, $16 to $17 billion of GMV. And what these changes do is they incent sellers, they lower the risk up front for them to list more items, they make these changes along, the pricing changes along with the other changes, increase the buyer experience and increase buyer conversion, which we think is going to lead to incremental GMV and sales for our sellers. What's good for our buyers is good for our sellers, and it's good for eBay. And that's why we've announced these changes.
John, you said you were throwing out the playbook, and you really are. You're changing. Things are really almost upside down. My eyes are crossed, trying to absorb it all. I really wish you good luck. I wish all the sellers good luck, and I think that ultimately there's a lot of reason why people are concerned. A lot of reason why we're scrutinizing this. But I do want to say we certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Certainly. Okay.
Thanks, Ina.
Good. Thank you, Ina. Nice talking with you.
Thanks a lot.